is the worst. I'm so sick of being catcalled.
I don't know if something's happening right now. Like people really haven't been fucking a lot because I don't know what's going on. But like last week, it was my friend's birthday. So I was taking her to dinner, but like I decorated my apartment for her. So when she came in, it was like balloons and shit like that. So I was like downstairs, like getting shit, like picking stuff up and cleaning or whatever. And like this, I don't know who was moving, like literally down the hall, but it was like these two guys. And I'm walking like I'm being friendly because I said they're moving stuff in, so I don't know if they're like gonna be my neighbors or who they are, right? So I don't want to be rude, but like one of the dudes, he's looking at me and he was like, "So how come you don't have a ring?" Like just looked at my hand and I was like, "What?" Like I'm being friendly, I'm asking like, "How y'all doing?" Y'all talking about a ring, like what? Then he was like, "Let me take you out to dinner." And he just made it like real uncomfortable, like real fast. And I was like, no, I'm cool. And he's like, oh, you're saying that because I look dirty right now, but really, I clean up. I'll take you on $1,000 dinner. I bet you ain't never been on $1,000 dinner. I was like, what are you like?
First of
What?
all, I have.
Like, first of all, yes. Secondly, why? Like, please just leave me alone.
Who are you?
Like,
And
he
you
was
probably can't take me to $1,000 dinner.
Well, also,
like, I'll give you $5,000 if you let me kiss you. And he was so dusty, like honestly, he was dusty as fuck. I was just looking at him and I just like stopped talking to him. I'm like, please just leave me alone. Like, just stop talking to me. He's like, I'll give you 10,000 if you let me touch you. I was like, now you're harassing me, sexually harassing me, and in my building, like down my hall. So now it's just weird. So then, like the whole night, like they were moving stuff, and like anytime I would walk past it, just be saying weird ass shit, like just like there she goes, or just do little dumb shit, and it's like making it hella uncomfortable. Like, no.
Grow up.
it's literally one of the worst things I think about going outside. And I feel like also because we don't go outside as frequently anymore, that like our tolerance for like accepting it is also lower. Like, you know, when you're out frequently, you always getting catcalled. So it's like, okay, but like I don't be out no more. So when I do go out and I'm like venturing out to the world, I don't have the same readiness to just accept that shit. And it is not, I'm over it. Like, don't fucking talk to me at all. Don't even look at me. Don't breathe in my direction. And I don't even mean that on some like, don't breathe in my direction if you're not giving me money. No, I mean like, don't even look at me at all. Just don't fuck with me.
I'm not there. Like, for real. It's so annoying. Like, just trying to do anything is just like, bro.
Yeah.
Have y'all ever seen women before? Like, have you not seen a woman before or something? Like, I'm confused. Like, you're acting.
Yeah, exactly. And I was literally in a fucking bonnet and weirdly big sweatpants and a fucking, like I said, a faja and some flip-flops. And it's like not even, it's like you're not even you're not even on that tip. And here they are.
Has your guys' OnlyFans been working?
Oh, bitch. I wanted to talk about OnlyFans too. Say it again.
At all. Like, I have tried to send a video for like the past 2 hours and it won't send.
I feel like, I don't know if it's because, I mean, I guess it's in part is because OnlyFans is becoming so popular and there's so many people on the site and whatever, but it's also like OnlyFans is fucking trash, whatever. But I just feel like I can't keep up with my OnlyFans anymore. Like, I just can't be bothered with it. I can't keep up with it. I can't, anything I try, I feel like it doesn't work. And it's like, I'm over it. But I can't be over it because it's my biggest source of income, but I'm over
it. That's work. That's the job.
Right.
I feel like I worked super hard last month and I did not see a difference in money.
Listen, bruh.
I'm not understanding what I'm doing wrong.
I'm not either. And the thing is, like, I saw the article that you were tweeting and I read it, and it's really interesting because I had been saying to myself, like, it seems like the rich are getting richer, like, and that applies to OnlyFans. And then that article solidified that like there's only like this amount of people who are like for real making bread and everybody else makes almost nothing.
Like 200 a month or something.
Correct. And I'm like, bitch, so what the fuck are we doing? No, but I really just feel like I just feel like everything that I'm doing is just not working. And I also feel like that's like such a fucking whatever thing to say because obviously I'm still making money, but I'm just like not really increasing. I'm not being able to even really maintain. It's like weirdly fluctuating, and I don't know what these niggas want, and I just like don't, and I don't know what to do.
I also don't feel like it's really us. I feel like people are really just really broke right now. Like, to be honest.
But people are not broke though. The truth is that people are not broke. Like the scammer niggas are super hitting right now. Like, it's crazy out here how much money these niggas are really making right now. Like, it's really, really crazy. Like, I see it a lot here in Miami, especially, or Broward, Miami. Scammers are really hitting right now.
Well, then what the fuck is going on? Because bitch, I don't know. I cannot figure out what is what and how to do what and how to keep niggas happy, because I've increased my promotion. I don't even like to have OnlyFans shit all over my fucking timeline, but I've increased my promotion. I've been shooting all these new types of fucking scenes. I did a fucking maid's outfit. I did a fucking schoolgirl. Did all these different shits. I'm trying to start going live, but not really live since I wasn't working. I'm trying to start going live with bitches. It's like, I feel like I'm exerting so much energy and like not seeing any, what's the word, whatever from it.
That's why I literally have stopped doing like any actual like masturbation videos. I haven't done that in like a month. I didn't see a change in money, but I didn't see a difference in money. It was the same thing. And I barely did any type of like masturbation videos. It's literally just been me twerking. Like, that's all. But I've been selling like little clips, but it'll be like $5,
right,
$8. And so people have been doing it, but I've completely given up on even like promoting it on Instagram. Like, no. I even took the link out of my bio. It's over. Like, I deleted hella pictures. Anything that had to do with OnlyFans, to subscribe to my link, is gone. I'm over it. Like,
this is what I'm saying. Like, it's too much. King, what's up? How you feeling? How you doing?
I'm good. Did I walked in on something just now?
Well, we're talking about our frustrations around OnlyFans, and probably this is a good question for you too, just from your perspective of how to like maintain and upkeep your OnlyFans. And I don't know if there is a difference between genders, but like I feel like all of us here have an OnlyFans, and we've consistently kind of seen weird impacts over the course of, I would say over the course of the quarantine, really, in a way that like, it doesn't fucking matter what we do. Our money is not really changing. I feel like I've been putting so much effort into fucking OnlyFans and it hasn't really increased anything. So I'm exerting more energy, but not getting the payment. You know what I mean?
I think it's got like a weird algorithm that I think like I don't know if they changed the algorithm or some shit like that during the last few months, especially once all these like celebrities started getting on that shit.
Right.
But it's weird. Like 1 month my shit will jump up like 100 people, then next month I'll lose like 150 people.
Right.
No info from them being like, yo, your shit was boring or something. You know what I'm saying? Like,
right.
Where y'all?
Like, no feedback, nothing, just gone. Like, what the hell?
Yeah, but it's like this though. Like it'll jump, drop, then jump right back up, and then
ultimately, in the end, it like stays the same because of how it's like. So it just like be the same.
Exactly. That's what I was noticing too, is that it does do this jump thing, but if I actually like look back, if I do like a data analysis type shit and look back, I actually do average around the same thing if I do an average, but it does jump from month to month. And it's just fucking weird, bro. I don't know. I also think, and I think I've said this already, but I'm also just like over sex work at this point. I'm just over it. I'm fucking over it. I'm over it. I'm over it. So I think just maybe my energy is impacting it too, because I don't want to be here no more. Like
I feel like for me, it just requires people to be really personal with you that you don't know. And I think I'm kind of over that. Like, I used to be cool with that. Like, come see what I used to be able to like record everything and do everything. And like, I didn't care about my privacy that much. But now that I'm getting older, I'm kind of like, I don't want y'all in my business like that no more.
Right. Right. And I think I also just feel like I don't even really be giving a fuck about a price anymore. It's like I don't care. You know, before I certainly was very easily bought. Like you could just definitely name a price, bitch, or even a no price, depending on how, you know, whatever I'm feeling. And now I do not give a fuck. I was really thinking about this the other day, and you know what? This is kind of a good segue into some of the conversation, King, that you'd like to talk about. I was thinking the other day about how I really just no longer want to engage with men in any capacity, like in any capacity, in any capacity. And when I would say that before, I would say that and mean it. But if somebody was like really sexy or was like, I got a band for you, I'd be like, okay. I kid you not, I've had hella DMs with money and I have zero interest. I don't give a fuck about no fine ass nigga, no social capital ass nigga, no here's this amount. I have no desire to engage with any men at all.
Is it just men or is it people in general?
No, it's men. It is men and masculine people. It specifically. I exclusively pretty much want to engage with femme identified folks. Yeah. No men and mask people. I have no desire.
What led you to that?
Trauma. To be completely honest, I really feel like, wow, so many different angles to take. I really feel like I'm about to be 30 in December, which is like wild as fuck to even think about. But as I move into this like next chapter of my life and I think back on all of my experience with men, they're horrible. And some of them are just neutral. But even that is like not enough to be like, oh, well, it outweighs the no. There are very few like really wonderful, intimate, vulnerable, safe, whatever. And even the ones that do exist are so few and far between. It doesn't outweigh the fucking bad or the neutral. And I feel like if it were anything other than men, and I were to say, like, if I were to say, I keep having this issue with alcohol, y'all would be like, cut alcohol out of your life. You continuously have these really damaging things happen when you drink. You know, fuck up this, and you're getting hurt in this way. You really need to cut alcohol out of your life. But for some reason, because it's men, not in this space, because we would definitely say cut out men, but like the average person would be like, it's you, or they would come up with some weird thing, and the reality is, no, I'm cutting niggas out of my life.
I could understand that. I think in regards to trauma and the way that men respond to women's trauma, or the way that men even respond to conversations about women's trauma, is trauma on top of trauma. Like that, I could see that shit being extra traumatic. Like it makes me think about I was talking with one of my peoples about quitting cigarettes. And I was like, yo, quitting cigarettes is gonna be harder for you than if you were trying to quit shooting heroin. And they were like, that don't make no sense, because, you know, heroin's a hard drug and it's super addictive. And I said, so is nicotine. But the difference is nicotine is socially accepted everywhere. Even in this day and time, if you see people outside smoking a square, people be like, after you have sex, smoke a bogey, whatever, you know, there's mad times that people do it. People don't be like, yo, that was a great meal, I'm gonna go shoot some H out front the restaurant real quick. You know what I'm saying? Think that it's kind of like the same thing when people talk about getting over trauma, and how male trauma is engaged and how women's trauma is engaged, right? Like I just saw a commercial earlier with Jasmine, and it was talking about a class action lawsuit that they're doing against the Boy Scouts of America. You know, and you're talking about the Boy Scouts, you're primarily talking about white men who have been molested, and they got this whole class action suit going, and they taking it to the Boy Scouts to the point where they're like, y'all gonna give us this money, y'all gonna let our daughters in now too, and we changing the whole Boy Scouts, right? But if you think about the women's gymnastics scandal that was going on, this is like the U.S. Olympic team, where all of women were sexually assaulted and molested, and all these traumatic experiences. You know, motherfuckers don't even want to have a conversation about that shit. You know, when one woman says, you know, this is a situation where I've been abused or I've been attacked or just made to feel uncomfortable, men automatically stand up and try to say every single thing about women instead of actually just being like, we should check that out. Like, this is a legitimate.
But they try to downplay it. Like they try to downplay the situation. I remember like recently this summer, I got pretty much assaulted. And I remember telling this person because it was his friend, and I would told him, and I'm like, yo, your friend did this, and like you need to like check him, and like you should not hang out with him because he did this to me. And he was like, he was just drunk, or like he's like, he was just drunk. We were all drunk. Like, why didn't you say anything when we were there? And I'm like, that's all you're gonna say? Like your friend did something real bogus, and like that's all you're gonna say about the situation? Like he really tried to downplay it. It was just.
It's just, it'd be weird how I feel like a lot of times men, they really ultimately want to impress each other. And so they be so scared to be different from their homeboys and actually stand up for some like real shit. And so they, I don't know, so they pretend and they downplay it and they act like it's nothing so they can look good to their homeboys. And it's like, that's so weird. Like, and I feel like we have memes and stuff to talk about how dudes love their homeboys so much, but like they really, like, it's crazy the things that they do to look good for other men. Crazy.
Sexism is like racism, right? In order to keep that framework alive, you know, everybody kind of got to buy into it. Like, let's say, and pardon if I'm bringing up something that might be re-traumatizing or whatever, but like let's take a situation where you're like, yo, this dude did X, Y, and Z to me. And the other dude might not be that physical with how he feels that his male privilege should be, you know, received or something. But he does know that there is a level of status, whether it's acknowledged or not, between a man and a woman, right? So if you call out this other person for their shit, you know what I'm saying, then it does shine a light on your shit. Like, hey, you might not put your hands on somebody, but you do make more money than women, or you do find other ways to leverage your manhood to get something that you want out of women. You know what I'm saying? So it's literally the same thing as racism. Like, you might, like how white people be like, well, I didn't call you a nigger.
Right.
But I'm still not gonna give you, you know, this home loan. You know what I'm saying? It's the same shit. And especially within the Black community, it's incredibly frustrating that we are not standing up more as Black men for the trauma that Black women and Black queer folk and trans folk and, you know, everybody under the LGBTQIA umbrella are feeling right now. And also we are part of perpetuating it, trying to hold on to our little hierarchy on this fucking bullshit racist sexist totem pole, right? Mm-hmm. And in these kind of situations, you know, you don't get nothing from it. Like, literally today is the spitting example of that. What's that coon's name that is the attorney general in Kentucky?
I forget his name. It's the one that everybody's going after right now.
The Sambo that decided that, you know, they weren't gonna pursue charges against the police that murdered Breonna Taylor. Mm-hmm. He's leveraging his little bit of power,
right,
to speak at the Republican convention, to go on Fox News. He'll probably be a pundit there in no time, you know, and he allowed his sister, our sister's life, to be his stepping stone to that.
Right.
Like, that is a perfect example of the shit.
Yeah. And I think it's really interesting because right now there is such like an awakening and all of the uprisings happening. And I know that there are plenty of us who have already consistently been doing like organizing work and just work decolonizing systems of oppression and shit like that. But for a lot of people right now is their first introduction to like radical anything. And in the middle of that, there has been such a bright fucking light shined on how within movement spaces and organizing spaces, there's so much violence happening, mostly at the hands of men and masculine people. Like, and so it's a really kind of a bizarre thing. It's a bizarre fucking thing. And it has always been that men and masculine people will not lead any fucking thing, but they always get to at the end of the fucking day. And it's very, very frustrating. And in part, this is why I'm like, fuck it. This is why I feel like the only way that I have any semblance of control over some of that is by exclusively creating spaces, and making it a priority to create spaces where men and masculine people are not in it. Like, that's the only like way I feel like I have any control over, because otherwise we were literally just before you hopped on, we were just talking about catcalling. It's like I can even do my best to create spaces where it's mostly femme identified folk, and then I step outside,
Yeah.
and I get fucking catcalled by a man or a masculine person. So it's like, it's just non fucking stop, and it's really fucking exhausting, really, truly.
Yeah, I think we're in a place as men and masculine presenting people that we have to show and prove, and I don't want to at all. Like, I don't knock where you coming from. You know what I'm saying? I have been raised by, my mother, my grandmother, my great grandmother, and I was the first man in my family. You know what I'm saying? All the other men either left or whatever, right? And none of them raised me to hate men. They raised me to be accountable for myself.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people, they either are raised, people get raised right, but then they see like, oh, there's a little power that I can have. There's a little bit of power that I can use to leverage over other people. And then they just run for it, and they go for it. And unfortunately, especially in our industry, I think that there is kind of like one of those, it's somewhat a refuge for people to be involved in all kinds of different behaviors. And when it's not checked, it can get even worse. But then just within our community as well, just within like the Black and brown community, because of all the other ways that power is taken away, people jump at whatever little slither of power they can get.
Right.
And they allow that power to be defined by their oppressor instead of creating and defining what manhood is to themselves,
Right.
or as a collective, because if you go back in through history, our people, whether you're from Africa, South America, North America, wherever there's Black and brown people, we have had societies that have been matriarchal. We have had societies that have had balance. We've had societies where there have been people who were accepted across the board, regardless of their gender, their orientation, or how they presented themselves gender-wise, right? And that's for hundreds of thousands, if not millions of years before Western society took over.
Right.
So it's like, why do we keep trying to emulate our oppressor instead of redefining and discovering who we truly are?
Yeah. I feel like you've been doing a lot. I've been seeing you do a lot of like panels and things revolving around like Black masculinity and manhood in general and accountability. And it's interesting. It's interesting to be having this conversation and also to have you here because I'm at a place where I'm like, I don't even give a fuck about men anymore. So it's like, we're having this conversation, but I'm also like, fuck it.
Right.
But so in January, I started a show called Discourse, which has all Black cis men, trans men, non-binary folks. And the intention of it and the reason I started it was so that there was a space where issues around manhood and masculinity could be discussed and no femme folks had to fucking organize it, lead it, although I organized it obviously, but like do the hard labor of the conversation. And I had honestly, it was like my last hope kind of a thing. Like, I'm so tired of doing labor. I'm so tired of doing this. So I created this space, and this will be like a nice passion project where they can talk about male issues and it can be beautiful and wonderful. And they can talk about accountability, and they can talk about relationships and intimacy and harm and whatever. And it was so beautiful and wonderful. And it was like, oh, we're starting such a great thing. And then 2 of the niggas were abusers. And within the group, there was very little actual conversation around accountability, although that was the center of the fucking show. And it was like, this was my last straw kind of a thing. And then this happened. And now it's like, I'm really just like, well, what the fuck now? Because this was an opportunity for that group to really put in practice a politic about community accountability. They sat in a room with 2 niggas who got fucking outed, and they didn't have to even do anything publicly. It could have been like this really private internal like conversation, and really nothing came of it. And so I just don't even know what accountability on any meaningful scale looks like at this point. Like, you know, so there's you and maybe a few people that you're in community with. That's it. Like, what else is there, really?
Well, I mean, that's dope that you were doing that, but at the same time, it's kind of like the same thing where Black women are saving the world again from them. You know, it takes men even making that first step, or masculine presenting folk making that first step to even be like, yo, we need to talk about this. We need to address this. I know I definitely have kind of uttered some of the same words as you, believe it or not, like around the whole Bill Cosby shit, you know, and that was what, like a year or 2 ago now, where I was just like, there are a lot of people who I know who I was just like, the fuck are you talking about, bro? Like, I don't give a fuck what he did on TV. I'm talking about what he did in the real world. Right, and right. Like still fighting. There's a conspiracy to da-da-da. Nah, man, it made me think of that, the Boondocks and shit, when Huey was like talking about R. Kelly. Like, right. He is not a fucker. Like, I've been working with political prisoners for years. Like, if you want to get behind Mumia or Sundiata Akoli, you know what I'm saying, Jalil Monty Queen, I'm all for it. Let's do it. But don't be trying to get me on no free Bill Cosby shit. Fuck out of here. You know what I'm saying? So I think that there's like this, there definitely are ways that Black men are under attack, right? But Black men are not under attack from Black women. Black men are not under attack from Black trans folk. Black men are not attacked from the LGBTQIA Black community. That's the part where it's just like, no, we need to have accountability to our community. And being accountable and being a man doesn't mean, yeah, I gotta tell all these people what the fuck to do. Like, that's not it. You know what I'm saying? It's like, how can I be of assistance? How can I be of support? How can I listen, hear you, and then actually take actions within my own life to not make you feel uncomfortable, to not make you feel under attack? Or if someone is putting you in that circumstance, to actually then you want to puff your chest up and be a man, quote unquote, step up to the person that's doing the attacking, or call out the person that's doing the attacking. And if you're not the kind of person that's going to do it with your hands, just have a fucking conversation, if anything, or tell the person that you are not welcome in this space because of your actions. And that's where the accountability starts. And it starts with how we raise our kids, you know, how we raise our sons in particular. You know, when we do our porn and parenting classes, we always say it's to keep our daughters safe and to keep our sons from growing up to be douchebags and abusers, you know, and it does take work, because the way society is set up, it does implant male privilege into all men, regardless of their color, right, and they are on a pecking order of color and ethnicity.
Yeah. Lexi, you wanted to talk about like sex positive parenting, right?
Well, yeah, I don't have any kids at all, but some of my friends have kids, and just especially for me, like you said, it's about keeping our daughters safe. I feel like when parents have daughters, they really go in on the daughter, on telling her what to do and how she should avoid, you know, getting hurt by men, you know, and things that she should do to avoid it. And if she's too sexual, you know, then it's her problem. And we teach men, or we teach little boys, you know, to have the many girlfriends, and that's what you're supposed to do. And yes, or if, you know, he hits the girl, like, oh, he probably has a crush on you, or, you know, things like that. And I see that in my friends. And when you try and teach them, you know, or just try and educate them on things, that different ways to handle those types of situations, it's a wall goes up. Like, I don't even know how you break through to parents and teach, and trying to teach them how to properly raise their children. They get defensive.
For sure. I think you do raise a really, really good point in regards to, you know, we put so much shame and fear into our daughters that, you know, it takes, you know, with the work that we do, we're talking to the parents, and the parents are in their 30s or 40s, and they're just finally discovering who they are sexually, or releasing some shame from their life, because they got that same exact shame, that same exact fear put on them when they were children as well. So, you know, one of the things about it is also empowering our children to say, like, you know, sex and sexual exploration are things that are natural, and feeling good is okay, you know, but these are certain boundaries that you want to set. Like, for example, my son is 2 years old. When I change my son's pamper, or when I'm washing him, he got a whole body that is locked in a pamper all day. So once he come out that pamper, he like, oh, what's this? You know what I'm saying? Now, so think about yourself in the age you are now, and how good touching yourself feels. Now imagine you do that shit for the first time. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, if I was like, boy, get your hand away from there. What's wrong with you? That's nasty. That. We're planting already in our children. And because we do fear, you know, most of the time when people talk about their daughters, they're like, I don't want my daughter to get pregnant before a certain age. I don't want her to get a disease, and I don't want her on the pole or whatever. Like, that's usually how people talk, right?
Yes.
There's nothing wrong with being a stripper. So throw that out. Um, Obviously, we want to keep our children safe from STDs and all forms of disease. Like right now, we got to teach our kids how not to get COVID, you know? So that's something that you should do automatically. Pregnancy isn't the only result of sex, you know? There's a whole lot of other things that come along with sex, whether it's the emotional aspects, the physical aspects, and not all those emotional and physical aspects of sex are negative. Some of those are really, really good things, but you also have to think, when you're a child, you're still a child. So, you know, you want to say, like, this is a time for you to explore yourself in your own private time by yourself. You know, you also don't want your kids, like, you know, rubbing one out or jerking off in your living room. You know what I'm saying? That's not healthy either, you know, but you do want to say it is okay to explore yourself in your own time. And if you have any questions, come and ask mommy, come and ask daddy, whatever it is, right? You want to make sure that you keep that avenue open. So like for me, when it comes to my son, or when it comes to our daughters, we make sure that everything is referred to anatomically correct, right? So that right there, automatically, there's no shame. It's not hiding the words. It's not associating some sort of shame. So then if they do have an issue, like, I don't know, it itches, or what is this hair that's growing here, or whatever, they'll feel comfortable talking to you because you're not disgusted.
Right.
Great to talk about it. And then that also leads to, when they are feeling that they're ready to share their body with somebody else on their own accord, they'll also be able to say, like, hey, can I get some condoms? Or I'm thinking about doing this. Is this safe? Is this normal? Is this natural about how I feel? They should be able to come to you. You're their guide through this world. That's what you are as a parent. You're not a dictator. You're a guide. You can help them, but you can't make decisions for them. And if you scare them away, if you shame them away, they're going to do that shit without you. And then you're only going to see the result. You know, so I think that's one of the things, like, you know, with our daughters are very different. One is very much like, you know, when we come back from like Exotica or some shit, she like, oh, what y'all get in the bag? You know what I'm saying? Like she our oldest, and she's definitely all about it. Our middle child, she's also a teenager, and she's just like to everything, no matter what it is, ill. Just ill. You know what I'm saying? But you know, we'll be like, okay, well, we'll leave Jasmine will leave like a book on the human body for her because she loves to read and she's into science. So we at least know, okay, she'll check some things out and then she'll come to us and maybe be like, so what's this all about? You know, you have to learn your child just as they have to learn the world around them. Like you'll see from when they're babies what their personalities are and how they grow and how you can work with them to keep them safe in every way possible, but also open up all the good things in the world to them too.
But okay, because I have a little sister now, and she's around like 12, and she's like discovering her sexuality, all of that. And like, it's weird because like, I'm very open about like my sex life, like on social media. I'm a sex worker, you know, I do all this stuff. So I'm very comfortable with it with myself and my own body, and talking about it with other people that I know are very like, where it's like a safe for me to discuss those things. And so I'm happy that my little sister feels safe to discuss those things with me, but I still feel a little bit of like shame, like talking about that with her, because it's like, you're my little sister, like, why are you asking me these questions, you know? So how do you like, how would I go about like navigating that shame, but still being honest with her about what these things are so she does make like the right choices and stuff like that?
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
What is it that brings up the shame? Is it something in you that is uncomfortable about talking about whatever it is that you're sharing, and or because maybe it's both, is it like some internalized misogyny around like her asking questions and you're like, don't be doing that, but it's like, even though so like, what is it? Do you have a sense of what it is?
No, I don't. It's more like just because she's my little sister, it's just, I don't know, weird to me. It's like, why are you, like, I don't know. It's just weird to me. Like, why are you asking me this stuff? Like, because she's only like 12. So I don't remember if I was really that sexual when I was like 12 years old. So that's why I'm like, dang, was I already talking about sex at that time? Like, what the hell, you know? So it's not really like, I want her, I do talk to her about like, whoops, I don't know what happened. I do talk to her about her sexuality and stuff like that. But now she's asking questions about actual sex. Like first she was asking me questions about like liking women because she thinks she's bisexual and everything. And I'm like, that's fine because I'm bisexual. So I was very like comfortable talking about that. But now she's asking me stuff like, what's a virgin? And like, I don't know how to tell her, number one, like virginity doesn't even exist, right? Like in my opinion, like I don't even agree with that. But also now I'm like, okay, now she's gonna start asking questions about sex, but I still feel weird talking about that with her, and I don't know why.
It's interesting, and King, you can probably speak to this too. I feel like one of the things I encounter when I speak to parents is that even if there are people who are like generally liberated or like progressive or whatever, however you want to phrase it, there's also this thing where because no one really talked to them about sex and sexuality, and like there wasn't that conversation, that there's this tradition of like, I don't even know how to talk about this because I didn't talk to anybody about it. And then it's also an extension of that is like not being equipped to have those conversations. So it's like two parts, right? It's like the weird emotional shit that we associate with having not spoken about it with our elders of whoever they are. And like, because of that, not having the skills at that point, right? Not being equipped. So it's interesting. And I don't know if that, if that feels like it resonates at all, but I feel like that's what I encounter with people who are not like conservative, who are like, I'm trying to do my best, but something weird still comes up.
It might be because my dad was very conservative. Like my dad never has ever spoken to me about that. So that might be the issue there.
I think also, you know, we live in a society that sells sex for everything, but then when it actually comes down to sex or the human body, it's still very frowned upon. Like, you know, you go watch any, you know, a movie and they'll show you on regular TV someone getting their brains blown out. But like if they have somebody like a woman breastfeeding, they're gonna put like as if her breast was in a witness protection program or something, right? You know, there's this shame that's everywhere. You know, it's not always just we, you know, obviously from our parents, but you know, it is everywhere in this culture where it's kind of like, yeah, everything is so hypersexualized, but then at the same time, the human body is frowned upon or exploring is frowned upon. So, you know, we get to a certain age and we also kind of forget what it was like to be a kid. You know, especially now you're a kid who has all these other outside influences coming in and telling them what sexy is or what beauty is or what even sexuality is, right? So just because you're a kid or you're, you know, a young adult, it doesn't mean you're not processing this information. You might not fully comprehend it because you haven't experienced it yet, but you definitely are seeing it and it's influencing how you dress. It's influenced in the music you listen to, how you dance, how you walk, how you talk, all these things, because you're naturally hitting puberty and you are attracted to whoever you're attracted to, right? So that's just natural. They're gonna hit that point. But then it's kind of like when we become adults, we're like, oh, how the fuck do I talk about this shit to this kid? Because we also now have been through it and there's so much more that is coming along with it. Our trauma, you know, lost love or gained love or broken hearts or fucking frustration, all these other things that come to it, that it's no longer just like it's A or B. It's the whole fucking alphabet now. So it's like, where do we start? And I can understand that there can be shame. You know, there's conversations with my kids and I'm just like, whew, do this, yo. Like, let me go smoke now. And it's natural. It's really, really natural to sometimes have our own shit, especially when it's a family member, especially when it's someone who's close to us and we're like, I don't want you to experience the bad that I experienced. Mm-hmm. You know, and we want to keep our loved ones, our kids, our younger siblings safe in every way possible. And I don't just mean like from the worst possible thing. We don't even want them to stub their toe. You know what I mean? Like, we're like, I just want everything breezy for you, you know? So there is that where it's like, oh, if I say this wrong thing and then I lead them down this path of whatever, you know, is that going to be my fault? You know what I mean? So the best way to do it, I think, is also remember as well as you can what it was like to be 12 years old, you know, and try to talk on that level. Think about what boys were like when you were 12 years old. And also, you know, you got to also, especially, you know, a girl that's 12 years old, you also got to warn her about men that's older or women that's older. You know what I'm saying? And the other thing that I did want to mention also is the same for boys. You know, within our culture, we try to act like things don't happen to boys, but they do. You know what I'm saying? Boys get molested and raped and attacked and all of this shit too. So that's why I think it's super important to always keep the science involved, like to understand your body, to be able to take care of your body. But then you've been through it, so you can add on with the emotional aspects of it, because that's the hard part when you're in puberty. Every single person you meet when you're in puberty is the love of your fucking life, and you can't live without them and shit. You know, make bad decisions at that age because, you know, you're fired up on all these hormones and shit. So you're jumping into anything or everything seems like nah, you're fine. You have a whole life ahead of you of a whole lot of people that, you know, you could take your time. You don't have to rush. Or if you do feel something for this person and you feel that you're ready or whatever, this is how you need to protect yourself so that you don't wind up in a situation that you can't get out of. You know what I'm saying? There's like a lot of different ways to approach it. And it really does depend a lot on your sister too, like where she is in her experience in life, and then also like her mental development.
Yeah, I think one of the other things that I thought of while you were talking about like thinking about being 12 is that, and thinking about speaking to kids or teenagers or whomever, is that another part of it is that shit is awkward. Like it is objectively awkward. And we don't always have the answers. You know what I mean? Like there is also this expectation that because we're adults and we've been through it that we should know shit, but we don't be knowing shit. And shit is still awkward. And then thinking back to all of our awkward ass experiences, like I want everyone to just like go around and like think about like awkward fucking weird ass experiences from like teenage. And I would like to hear at least one story from everybody, because the thing that I thought of, particularly when you started talking about like, you know, we do, once puberty hits, we get into this like, we learn how to become whatever we are, right? So for me, it was like femininity and womanhood, and what does that mean to me? And like for me, that meant I need to be attractive in A, B, and C way, and I need to be able to do A, B, and C skill. And and one of the things, talking about embarrassing shit, that I thought of was like when I was in middle school, we used to have like freak dance parties, like freak parties, like where you would freak dance. Mm-hmm. And I didn't know how to dance. Like, I did not know how to shake no ass. I didn't know how to do nothing. My mama is white as fuck. I didn't never do no dancing growing up. I literally did fucking ballet and fucking whatever. So I didn't know how to fucking dance. And like, I would go to parties and like watch other girls and be like, that's what I have to learn how to do. Like, I have to, and I would like literally practice this until I got like good enough, and then I like unveiled my skills, and I was like pretty good. And like I have like a very specific memory of like we were at also, I don't know how we ended up in some of the situations we ended up in, because bitch, why weren't you in school? Where are the parents? I don't know. I have this very specific memory of like a bunch of us in somebody's apartment, and it had to be somebody's older brother. It wasn't a parent. And we were like in the bathroom and the lights were off, and I was like dancing on somebody and the lights came on, but I kept dancing because I caught myself being like, oh bitch, y'all gonna see me. And everyone was like, hey! And it was like such a like coming of age moment, but it's also so awkward to think about. And I can't imagine having that kind of a conversation with a teenager. Like, bitch, I gotta talk you through that? Oh nah, because that is embarrassing and fucking cringe. Like, what the fuck?
Oh my god.
Wow.
Bruh.
I definitely have an embarrassing story, a coming of age story. I remember there was this girl, and like her name was fucking Samantha. Like there was like a black Samantha and a white Samantha. I just remember this. She was like the white Samantha, and she was the coolest fucking girl on the playground, and she wore thongs, like, and that was like the coolest fucking thing because she had a G-string. And I felt so like almost privileged because Samantha was my friend and she liked me, and her mom took us to the mall, and her mom was like, you know, do you want the thong or whatever the case is? And I was just like, hell yeah, you know. And of course I couldn't tell my mom that I was buying a thong from this other lady. And so like I put the thong like in my pocket or some shit like that, changed into the thong when I got to school, and then like, you know, had it showing over my jeans and shit like that. But you couldn't tell me shit about my baby blue thong, okay? Like I felt so like, but that's weird as shit.
Like, can you imagine someone coming to you being like talking about, it's just, bruh. Oh my god. Okay, V, what about you?
I can't think of nothing. I don't know. My memory is fucked up, so I can't think of anything. I'm trying to think of something like that, but like I don't remember anything like that happening to me. I don't know. I was already making out with people at like 13, so I don't know. Like I was playing Truth or Dare, and I was like always making girls make out with me at that point. So I don't remember like anything. Like I remember being like 12 years old and like feeling really ugly. Then I turned 13 and somehow I like transformed to a bad bitch. And then ever since I was just like fucking, sucking, kissing everybody. So I don't. Like at that point it was over with.
Oh fuck. King, what about you?
Well, I know me, I was a latchkey kid. So, you know, like my house was the spot. Like,
same.
Also, I didn't go to school very often, so the spot, you know what I'm saying? So like, I remember people just used to come through, you know, drink a little, smoke a little, and just, we would have like literally like our freak parties, there wasn't much dancing. Like people was doing whatever level of shit they was trying to do, right? And I remember one time, this dude who was he was going out with sister that lived on my block, and he come knocking on the door like, y'all having one of those parties? And it was like, yo, your girl ain't here. What you doing? And she was like family to me. And she was a black belt at like 14. And I was like, I'm not having her come through here fucking everybody up. Nah, like I think for me, the time that I really was like, yo, I am young and out of control was I had a girlfriend. I was like 15, she was 14. And her father would go see his girlfriend like at night, sometimes stay over. So she would be home. And it'd be like her and her younger brother, they lived in separate sides of the apartment. So she would sneak me in. And we would pretty much be playing house. You know what I'm saying? She would have them on fucking Kiss FM, Midnight Storm playing shit, you know what I mean? Burning incense and all that. We was getting all romantical with it. And one time he came home and this dude was like in the Nation of Islam and shit. Like her dad was scary as fuck. He was like Diesel ass Lionel Richie. Like,
oh my God.
Dude. And I hid in her closet for 2 hours. Like I sat in the closet while he came home and he had her cooking. He was like, she was in there making cabbage. I'll never forget that shit. I'm sitting in there, you know, like when you in a apartment round the way and they don't got no proper, you know, they ain't no proper ventilation and shit. So I'm just,
we're hot as hell.
It ain't no closet that's in the door. It's like one of them stand-up closet shit. So I can't shit gonna fall and it just smelled like hot ass cabbage. I'm sweating in this in this shit. And I'm like, this is not the business. You ain't grown, bro. You know what I mean? Like it's when I just really realized like you doing too much for your age.
I need all my scammer niggas, bring that cash out.